Section 10 of the Soul or Rational Psychology. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. The Soul or Rational Psychology by Emanuel Swedenborg. Translated by Frank Sewall, 1837 to 1915, and others. Section 10. 5. The sense of taste. 39. The taste is a superior sense of touch, and discerns those figured parts or angular forms which are more simple, and which flow in a certain liquid. In the tongue are contained papilla almost similar to those above described among the pores of the skin, but there is observed a threefold difference. Under the skin of the tongue itself, and under a certain nervous membrane, they lie concealed, but they stretch forth and reach out when the appetite is excited, and the mind desires to perceive the quality of meats and drinks. This is the reason why in the dead they are withdrawn and hidden. The outermost sheath is netted, pervious, and full of holes, in order that the parts which press and are rolled upon the tongue may be able at once with their points and corners to meet the membranes and little extended tongues of the papilla. This effect could not be produced unless the particulars which are to be discerned by the taste should be in solution and flow in some liquid. This is the reason why the tongue itself and the neighboring glands, as those of the whole mouth, or of the jaws and palate, pour forth a kind of saliva, for the dry tongue possesses only a dull and feeble sense, very much such as that of the touch only. That the sense of taste is a superior sense of touch appears from this, that the touch cannot be far perfected, that it can perceive the effluvia floating in moist places and their little points, still less the order and arrangements of the angles among themselves and as mixed with the rounded surfaces. For there are degrees of the angular parts or forms, as of the more or less composite or simple. Those which are composite are of that inferior, posterior, and imperfect kind which the touch perceives, while the taste perceives those which are more simple, prior, superior, and more perfect. But in general it is to be observed that the three senses, touch, taste, and smell, do not take in anything more than the figures of the parts, or of the angular forms, that is, of the inert and heavy. They do not take in the forms themselves and their essential determinations, as do the sight and hearing. 40. The sense of taste is intermediate and truly corporeal. Its innumerable organic substances are dispersed throughout the entire tongue, and taken together constitute the organ of taste, as asserted and shown above concerning the touch, for papilla of diverse forms are scattered through the entire tongue and over its surface, but nevertheless when taken together these form but one organ and one sense. 41. The perfection of the sensation of taste depends upon the quantity, quality, situation, and mutual connection of those organs, that is, upon the particular form of each, and the general form of all, as also upon a certain variety, which must be called harmonious. Just as said above concerning the sense of touch, the same law belongs to both. For the objects of both are figured corpuscles, hard and inert, but those which affect the sense of taste are the simpler or less composite of the same kind, or of the angular bodies. As regards the variety of those organs, they are of a triple composition and nature. The more numerous, the softer, the more perfect are in the apex of the tongue, than those which are in the sides, then the more coarse and imperfect about the roof of the tongue. Thus there is a harmonious variety and difference of all. For the perfection of similar organs in the same tongue increases and decreases, so that there is nothing whose figures may not be detected by this sense. 42. The sense of taste. Just as the sense of touch refers itself immediately and immediately to the cerebrum as its common sensory, immediately by the nerve of the fifth pair, which is the common nerve of the organ of the sense arising from the medulla of the cerebrum itself. We must distinguish whether the taste arises from the nerve of the ninth pair or from that of the fifth pair, for everywhere it approaches and enters the tongue together with the nerve of the pars vagum. But because the tongue is not only muscular and filled with motor nerves, but also papillous and sensitive, and because the fibres of the said nerves are wonderfully folded together in the tongue, so that it is difficult to know the office of each, therefore we must explore the subject by the aid of other signs which may reveal the truth. It has elsewhere been observed that the nerve of the ninth pair is the speaking or locatory nerve, and that the nerve of the eighth pair the masticating nerve, and the nerve of the fifth pair the sensory nerve. So far as regards further the nerve of the fifth pair, it is the common nerve emerging from the angular protuberance, in which are concentrated the fibres both of the cerebellum and of the cerebrum. This nerve is both soft and hard, according to the observations of Ridley, therefore both a sensor and motor nerve, as is the nerve of the seventh pair, or that of the hearing. Besides, it enters the several organs of the sense, the sight, hearing, smell, and taste. Thus it seems to serve the same use in the head, which is served by the intercostal nerve in the cerebrum, as that, in other words, unites in its own mode the several senses, so this unites the several actions or muscles. It may be demonstrated from anatomy that the universal nerve of the senses is one which arises immediately from the cerebrum, just as that the universal nerve of the natural motions of the body, or the intercostal nerve, as also the nervus vagus, arise from the cerebellum. Moreover, many phenomena prove the nerve of the ninth pair to be the speaking nerve, or that of the muscles by the aid of which the tongue speaks. Thus, so far as the nerve of the fifth pair is continued from the medulla of the cerebrum, or arises from its cortex, it follows that all the differences of touch in the tongue may be perceived in the cerebrum. It would be otherwise if there were no immediate communication with the cerebrum. End of section 10.